Hey RPG, what's up? Just getting some things set up. How you doing? I see you've been streaming some Ni no Kuni and some Final Fantasy 16. How you been liking them? If you're not already following my friend RPG, please go follow. He's a very good streamer. Variety. Also very knowledgeable on the Genshin Impact. Technically speaking, this is 2 days in a row. This is 2 streams on the same day. All right. Hello, Jakatsu. How are you today? God, like I think it's just the humidity hanging out in the air that's just like killing my voice. So sorry if you hear noise in the background. I'm still doing laundry. It's a heavy laundry day today. Anyway, I think we're good. Ready to go. Oh my God, you're still there. Or are you doing late shift today? God, I hope you're doing late shift today, only because that would be real. Oh, they've had me here for 12 hours. And well, I'm sure that wouldn't actually surprise me. It'd still be a long effing day. But, okay. I know it's been like stifling down in your neck of the woods with the humidity and the heat. I mean, I don't know how much, but I know that like at least a portion of Florida has been like with all the humidity and heat. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's very humid up here too. But we got some cool things to show off today. So I'm excited. So let me pull up the right playlist. All right, and we're gonna switch over. So we've got, first of all, new background to start. So new starting screen. And I'm going to add a little bit more to this. There's a couple of things I want to add in, like a new logo for Sherelynn, which is going to get added in. And I really want to adjust the social media pop-in. So I'll be doing that too. But those are things that are still works in progress. It's a one-man show over here. But we do have a new scene. And a new transition. So, there we go. We do have a new scene. And this is so when I get the live 2D rigging for this model done, which it is actually set to do. Womble specifically created her to be able to be rigged. I picked up some assets. Now this is going to be in the interim. So all of this was, just flat out transparent. I bought this off of some of these assets, like the chair and the throne and the background off of Etsy, because it's a great way to support actual artists. And it's somebody that I had done, I'd bought stuff from before, and I really liked the stuff they did. So they had some stuff that really kind of fit the new vibe, especially considering that Sherelynn is supposed to be a necromancer, and we're gonna get to that. But like I've been kind of like working on this slowly over a while. And I've been planning out something like this because I've been wanting to make the whole transition over to actually a live 2D model, but I still wanted to have a more unique, or I should say non-game specific related model to stream on, to build off of. And of course the fact that, first of all, huge shout out to Artwomble. We have to do that. I have to do that. Artwomble has been my go-to artist for the Sherelynn model, the Bix model. Artwomble is there's Artwomble right now. I love Artwomble. What's up, buddy? Technically, this is the only time I'm going to say that, Daddy. But Womble is really a talented, like one of the most talented artists I know. Does a lot for everybody that we know. Like I have seen a lot of, like Bindo, Peppy, Bucket. If you've seen when we did the collaboration, the animated Dumpy Sloth, that was Bucket's doing, and it just fantastic artist, really talented. And we're hoping so that when not only in the realms of PNGs, but when I take this into a live 2D model, that this will be, first of all, it's a unique model. So a lot of them are done in the traditional anime style. So thank you. Again, that's an Etsy thing. I'm gonna work on some things on my own for when I do that. But for now, like, this is just fantastic for what I want to do. And I'm gonna put a little bit of a desk asset, or like a table asset with a glass of red liquid and a nice goblet of some type on there. I know what I want, so that it kind of completes the scene a little bit. But so here's the thing: a lot of VTubers generally use the whole, like, there was a very big anime aesthetic in there, and that's all well and good. That's why I like, when I look at, like, first of all, I want to just give a lot of things. Hey, awesome! I come onto the stream to Red Liquid. Indeed, Zan, good to see you. I hope you got to your. I take it this means you got to your arrived at your destination safely, which is good. So it's good to see you all. First of all, thank you for joining me tonight. We're gonna just have a little chat. We did some things. I tested some of this out last night, or early this morning, at just like after midnight, to make sure a lot of the stuff worked, to check out the transitions. And and San Diego, nice, very cool. Well, I actually don't know. San Diego's probably warm. But yeah, so I will say that this is one of the things that I've been working on. When I was talking to Womble about the design. Womble said I definitely want to knock it out of the park, because this will be like the first, like, going into live 2D that I'll have done, and I want to. And so a lot of the design work, or the back end work, is there. I know he split it into different layers. And because I watched the whole process when he did this, so I'm here for the day before I go pile onto a ship and go back to Washington. Oh my God, that's a long trip. Wait. So that mean are you like actually going sailing onto? Well, listen, I don't want to ask too much actually. If I remember what you and Angie said, I'm not sure if you're going by sea to Washington or if you're just going to go like just get onto the. Oh Jesus, that's a bit of a trip. To be honest, I'm not sure how long that takes, but that does seem like a little bit of a long way around. Oh wait, no, back to yeah. I'm thinking like DC. I'm like, wait a minute, no, dummy. That's all good. Chris, thank you so much for gifting that sub to Womble. Thank you so much. Also, hi Chris, good to see you. But yeah, so what I wanted to say is like, it's awesome. First of all, thank you all for coming and hanging out tonight. That really means a lot. So generally speaking, like the format of the show is not going to change that drastically. I do want to do a lot more with the VTubing and everything else, and to work a little bit more. I also need to at some point change up my sub badges because that's something that's an old hangover.
You're about to be killed.
Or hangout. And I also need to change some things to work with stream elements as opposed to having it all set up the way it is. But there's some stuff that's going to happen. So, like, over the next couple of... I still love all of those. Those are the best. Those are the best emotes. So, but, like, one of the things I really want to say is, like, so the format is still going to be primarily old hangover. Exact. Well, no, I love that. Well, okay, so... A lot of people are like, well, what are you going to do with the other two PNG models? Well, they're still going to be used just for different aspects of the show. So if I'm doing primarily a Final Fantasy-like themed stream, so am I still hungover? Are you? I don't know. But like if I'm going to do like a primarily Final Fantasy-focused stream, I might break out Sherelynn. I still have the models. And I'm still, Bix is still going to be a very big part. Bix is all set up on. Oh, I know, and I'm going to be investing. I know where that's going. I know what I'm planning on doing. Because I love supporting Mr. Womble over there, and I Peppy and I were chatting a little bit. So yeah, but like one of the things like I've been saying is like I have Bix set up on the other machine so that when we do some of the Zan, okay, Zan, no problem. I'm just glad to know he's there safely. I'm gonna be doing some tabletop RPG discussions. And we're gonna be talking about game systems and things like that. And for that, I'm actually gonna be doing stuff on Bix on the stream. That's why I was toying around about changing the name because I can change the channel name, but I want to leave it as Captain Milk, and I'm gonna probably do like Captain Milk Presents in the corner, and then so like this will just be like Sherelynn will be up there, and I have the logo for Sherelynn already like designed out. There's just one or two things I want to add to it, just to make it look even better for what I wanted to do, and. There's some things that I wanted to change around with, like, essentially how things work. There's also things I'm playing around with, so I've downloaded VTube Studio and VBridger, and those two things are things that are going to be needed to do this. However, I will actually possibly not be using a cell phone for that because I think a lot of them tend to run off of iPhones. I'm sure there's one that runs off of an interface for Android too, but at the same point, I have actual camera equipment and like good camera equipment. And I'm like, why wouldn't I use that? So I do have some people. Obviously, I'm going to reach out to Ruby to talk to Ruby because Ruby has a lot of experience with that. I know Womble does. And I just need to sit down with some of my VTube friends and like have like a discussion on like what would be good options, what works best and things like that. And so that's kind of like things that are important to me. like just to, as far as the technical setup and things like that go, getting everything like properly set and oriented. Um, but overall, I'm not like I'm just excited to be able to like continue on this path that I started with, and it's something that I think for me has made me feel a lot more comfortable hitting the go live button. Because even when I'm going to do like if I'm planning on doing like an in-depth podcast on something, I can do things that way, and that's fine. But one of the nice things about this is I love using so a lot of us will that have been streaming for a while will always find an opportunity to bitch about something with OBS or not, because OBS does update fairly frequently, and occasionally they do break things inside of settings like, oh, there's an OBS update, and I'll always have to make sure that if there's an update that day, I download it early enough so that I can test everything out, because sometimes it resets all the audio and video settings back to defaults, so I have to go and reset everything. It's not a big deal, but like if you don't do that, like if it gets to a point where you're going to go live and like you see there's an update and you're like, oh crap, I was going to do that, wait till the next stream. Like you can always run OBS with a little bit of an out of date thing. I just never update, no issues. That's true too. But like if you got it working and everything seems to be working good, like yes, there's that too. Don't necessarily update it all the time. However, like if I know I've just done a driver update for my video card, and like I've done a Windows update, and or I've updated a bunch of my software to be running in the background, I will do the OBS update, and like I can go back, and it doesn't take that long to like get everything situated. But it's one of those things like when you're doing this, there's a lot more and to it. And I was actually watching Giga today, who is one of the larger VTubers out there. But she was talking about, she's doing a lot of like a Q&A on like streaming and VTubing and things, and she put it a good, she brought up an issue. She's like, most VTubers have to do a lot of tech work before they go live, because like there's a lot of things that you have running. There's a lot of software. There's a lot of like, in addition to also just having the stream, so you have your stream software running, which is typically like going to be a chat bot of some type. Whatever you're using to stream on. Most people generally do tend to use OBS, or one flavor of OBS or another. And then a lot of people will have like maybe some other plugins or things running while they are streaming for when they stream. Then on top of that, you're also going to be running your VTube Studio. Like if you're a fully live 2D model, you're going to be using VTube Studio and VBridger and like whatever else. Like if you're running an eye tracker for that day, like some people run eye trackers for when they do React or Try Not to Laugh streams. There are things like you laugh, you lose kind of. Those are popular. And yeah, so like you'll see a lot of these things out there. But she said like, yeah, you'd be surprised how really proficient with tech you become when you start doing this. And it's true. It's like when I started streaming like in 2014, which is like a while ago now. I didn't even realize that till earlier this year. Like, yeah, there's a lot that I ended up like learning about, like video, and then eventually when I started doing like video work, because there is an old channel of mine, the Melkendor YouTube channel, which still exists, which is where I did all of my thing. That's where I cut my teeth on editing and using different editing programs for video. And a lot of the stuff I do myself, like all of my thumbnails and everything else like that. Well, one of the things I found that's really great for specifically the VOD channel, which you'll see, it will scroll by. There's the Melk VODs, which is where which is a YouTube channel specifically sectioned off. And I'm going to go into all the background. So I know we were talking the other day, and Chikatsu was interested in it because like the question that says like there's so much out there, especially with all the different platforms. Like, hey, where do I even get started with this? So we're going to kind of go into it, especially with all the conversation that's been going on lately about, oh, what platform should I stream on? What's going on with Twitch? What's going on with Kick? What's going on with YouTube and all these other places? And today there was another one that was advertising on my Twitter feed and I was looking, I was like, oh, there's another streaming service. And I looked at it and I was like, hey, let's do a little research on this one. And it's like all NFT, it's NFT backed. And like, I was like, I'm not even going to look at that. because like y'all know the rant I went, or if you were here for the rant I went on at midnight about NFTs and how dumb I think they are, because they are. I was like, oh, this is just going to be potentially just a giant fail, something waiting to fail. It's like, oh, it's going to fail. Because when I see something is backed by an NFT company, I am concerned, because I just know that that's just a red flag for me. But it's just one of those things. But when it comes down to it, the some of the things that I've learned, and I've talked to, I actually like to go out and actually talk to people and say, like, okay, so like, how'd you get started? What is key for you? I know, like, as far as it goes with, like, I'm not consistent, but I'm working on that. Consistency is good. Consistency is probably the biggest, like, foundational thing you can have with streaming, because if you and it's consistency, meaning like, oh, I'm going to put out a schedule every week that will tell people when I'm going to be live on certain days so that they'll know. That's a huge thing, and that's like the most important thing. Like, if people know, like, I will then, if I'm able to tweet out like on a Monday that, like, oh, hey, I'm going to put on every Monday at like noon, I'm going to publish when I'm going to be live that week, then people will know what days I'll be around. And even like, if if 1 week's going to be like, oh, when I'm going to GCX, like, oh, I'm not going to be streaming that weekend, but I might do some random live streams here and there with the phone where I'm just like, oh, hey, we're going to say hi to people, or I might check in with people for a little bit and do like a spot stream here or there. Well, that's going to be something different. But I would let people know, like, I'm going to be at a con. There might be something going on. If I do, I'll let you know. Check Twitter for that on these days. But, like, if I know, like, normally I stream Saturday and I'm going to be at a con, I'll be like, guys, I'll be at a con, so no stream this week. Stream will be instead on a different day, or we'll just go one day without that. But one of the other things that's important, so that's important for scheduling and consistency. One of the other things, like, if you're going to do something, most people should diversify now. I'm going to say that. Now, I am going to say this because I've seen some people that I didn't think would go over, or wasn't sure what they would do. But I've seen people go over and to a bunch of different sites. And the thing is, if you're going to go into another site, now my plans for streaming and content creation revolve around two primary platforms: Twitch and YouTube. One day every 2 weeks will be a YouTube stream on the Sherelynn channel, which you'll see get up there. And that's where I'm going to stream everything, because all of Sherylynn's content, and which includes, that's going to be my main channel. So that will be the main channel where you'll see most of my all of my live streams and most of my, like, short content. All of the content that I'm going to do is going to be primarily on that. So all the clips that I'll turn into shorts to put up on YouTube will be up there. All of the other stuff that I will have that will be related to easily digestible content will go over there. VOD's channel will still get all the VODs. So, like, all the VODs will go on the VOD's channel, so you can watch the whole playback. And the reason I made that decision, well, there's a couple of reasons. So, talking about YouTube, as I said, YouTube has, the algorithm works based on what content you put on your channel. Now, because I have different content I like to make using the streaming platform, or basically filming through OBS, I will have to, like, so the VODs, all of the VODs are going to get dumped onto the VODs channel, because I want people to have one place to go, specifically because that's long form content. It's not short. Everything that you're going to see there is going to be like a minimum of an hour to, like, up sometimes, like, if I do a long stream, like, if we were going to do like an 8-hour stream or whatever, it would get uploaded there and you could go back and watch it for however, without, like, if some people like just having because I play a lot of I play DMCA lo-fi beats, and I generally am not somebody that yells, so a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm just going to put you on in the background while I'm working or doing stuff, which I do. A lot of people do, just so that they have, like, that something relaxing or something to listen to. Not that I'm always relaxing, but I know I'm not like the super high energy, like, streamer all the time either. So um, I want the ability to. So if you want to go back and watch the VODs and you want to have an ad blocker on or something, like that's see, thank you, Womble. But like that's one of the things that like makes it easier for you to go and watch it because I'll be honest, I've watched VODs on Twitch, and as much as I don't really like, look, most of the stuff that's going on with Twitch doesn't affect me, all right, but it could in the future. But here's the thing: the most important thing is if you're going to go back and watch a VOD of mine, I want you to have the option to, not worry about ads. And it's easier to do that on YouTube than it is on Twitch. That's all I'm saying. So I want that option to be available for you. Second thing, and the other thing is, again, it makes it easier for like when the algorithm's out there, it's like, oh, I want to watch something long form. Long form is not the most digestible thing. And actually, MTash, who makes a lot of YouTube content for Genshin and a bunch of other games now, like Diablo 4, and he's been because he started out as a Destiny content creator, but he moved on to other avenues, which it grew his channel tremendously and made it a lot easier for him to make a living. MTash had a Q&A yesterday because he was in meetings all day, and I sent him a question. I said, hey, MTash, I know you make a lot of content. How do you decide what's the best length for your videos on YouTube? Because for a long time it was like 10 minutes. And then he says, yeah, 10 minutes, but he says it's got to be digestible, and you have to realize that people have so much attention that they're willing to put into a video. So he says, now, it's I try to keep it 7 at longest, sometimes 4, but my philosophy now is like, if I can get everything out I want to say in like 4 minutes, then that's how long the video is. If I could get it out in 7 minutes, that's how long the video is. But it will not go. I try not to go above 7 minutes for watchability's sake, and that's important. So, like getting that feedback from somebody who is close to 1 million, subs on, is like a close to 1 million channel on YouTube it's good information to have, and it was a question that I thought made sense to ask. It wasn't just, hey, what do you like in such and such game. A lot of times when you do an AMA, hey, ask me anything. You never know what you're going to get, and a lot of times it's just to kill time when you're bored. But yeah, I know I'm not a normal consumer. Most of the content I want you to do is 1 to 4 hours, and that's fine. I do too. I watch a channel called Raven Reads. And that's my ASMR at night. She's got a really a really nice voice. Just it's got those qualities that I find appealing to listen to. I'm a sucker for a nice voice. I'll tell you that right now. And she makes long form. Like she'll read, kind of like creepypastas, but these are like letters that get sent in, and she reads the letters, and then she'll put like rain, like light thunderstorms in the back. And rain, and then a very, very low like piano music in the background. So it's very ASMR. And she'll put like 8-hour compilations, and I'll just sit there for 8 hours and listen to that. Sometimes I'll fall asleep to that. Sometimes I'll just work and listen to that, and it's great. It makes me happy. But like, that's why I'll do. So I get you on that, and. Like, there are times where I'll sit there and I'll be like, I want to watch like an hour long, like a 2-hour long documentary on something. And sometimes I can find it on YouTube, and that's great. So, I do the same thing. But I want to have the option to have a channel that has the VODs, that have the long form video out there for the people that want that. And it's important to have that for diversity's sake. Like I've seen a lot of people have an archive channel. I didn't want to call it the Milk Archives because, that's long. Milk VOD seems good for me, and I'm glad with that. I'm happy with that. But the other thing is like having all the short form content or the main content on the Sherelynn channel gives me the opportunity to kind of know what's going to go on there. And so when I go into, because a lot of times when I do these streams, I'll know which ones I have topics that I can cut out and where I can edit down the videos and just kind of section things off and feed things. A lot of times when I'm doing stuff like this, I'll say like if I'm doing a planned podcast where I have specific talking points that I want to cover, that makes it easy for me to know, like, okay, from like 5 minutes in to like 20 minutes in, I'm gonna cut this out, and I'm gonna edit this, and I'll have this for a video that I'm gonna release, and I'll add in like an opening graphic, and then I'll add in the closing, like, oh, go watch these videos, and and like and subscribe kind of thing at the end of the video, and then I'll add that in, and I'll have that all set up so I can just go through the VODs, because I record these all. So then I take them into a video editor, which I actually have been using DaVinci Resolve because it's free and it's powerful. And I figure if it's good enough for movie studios to work with, but then by God, it's good for me because I am a nobody. And well, I know Bucket, if he was here, would be like, that's negative self, but it's a joke. But the fact of the matter is, I know that, like, for me, understanding how to use a good editor like that, which DaVinci is a very good video editing program, it makes it easy for me to add another thing, and when I get proficient in it, it makes it easy for me to add that to my just a skill set of skills that I have built up, or my repertoire of skills that I've built up over the years. And it's one of those things that I enjoy doing. I like to sit there and mess with video and edit it and add things in and make it look good and, section it off. The other thing is that I have the other channel, which is the Veil Craftworks channel, which is for the tabletop stuff and the mini painting. And like when I do content for that, it gives me a place so I can section that off, because that also makes, now for those of you, again, that are concerned about branding, that also makes it easier for me to like point to things when I want to go and get a sponsorship for something. Now, there's one area where I really want to work on sponsorships, and that's really for the 3D printing tabletop, area, because that's something that I definitely know a lot about what I'm talking about. It's something that I definitely think is cool. And I'll be honest with you, when it comes down to like doing tests for like a paint line, or like trekking out a new 3D printer for a company and like giving my honest opinion on it, that's the kind of stuff that I also enjoy doing. And it's something that I like. That's why when I talk about like things like an airbrush and I talk about things like that, it gives me a place to kind of section that off and says, oh, well, you want to go to the Veil Craftworks. And then when I send my information to a company that's like expressed an interest, I can send them the relevant things so that they can look at all the analytics and all the things for that channel and specifically. But like if somebody's like, if a big company were like, and I'm talking about in the future, I'm talking about building a brand. This is a hypothetical for also building a brand. Like if I know that I've got across my 3 YouTube channels, I've got a combined amount of subscribers that, builds to a pretty good level, I can then say, when I go to a company that's like maybe a talent company or something, and be like, yeah, I've got 3 channels that are active and have like large viewer bases. And then I could go to that. And the reason, like, as people are like, oh, you're going to go to a talent agency, I'm talking about when you go to a talent agency, like, it's not like, oh, I'm looking to go get an agent that's going to then do this and then that, and I'm going to get a manager. No, I'm talking about somebody that's going to have like a partner manager that goes there, or talent manager that goes there and says, okay, these are the sponsorships that we can get for you for this and to run, and then you'll get paid this much. And it takes all that work out. They take a percentage. It could be 5%, could be 10%. But it's a healthy percentage. Like, in other words, they get a percentage, but you get a majority of it because you're the actual creator, the talent. And then, that makes it easy for me to then manage things and know, okay, I know this thing. And then they keep you kind of on track with like, oh, this week you said you planned out for this, so you'll have a meeting with your manager, and you go over, hey, this is what I want to do. And makes it easier so that when you branch out, and if you do grow, and I'm going to use the term if because it's not a guarantee. I'm doing this as something that I do for fun, but it's also something that I take seriously. So while primarily I'm doing this as a hobby to build up skill sets that I want personally, it's also something that I'm very aware of, that if I do things right, I grow the way I would like the channel to grow, then these things could be in the future available. And I want to have the research so that I don't just be like blindsided when something comes up, right? And that's important too. Mainly one of the things, and you guys should know this. I want you to know that. Okay, so Friday we are doing a stream as it's the 30th, so it's definitely Friday. We're doing a stream for Fabulous Marines. It's going to be painting. We're going to be working on. I'm going to be working on a model for. It's going to be all the proceeds from that stream. It's going to be a charity stream for Trevor Project, which all the money raised for that, there'll be a Tiltify link and everything will be set up. You'll be able to go and donate and get that all in for the charity. And that's one of the things I want to do. I decided it's going to be then because again, it's been a lot. I've been like back and forth with scheduling things for a procedure I have to have done on my knee to fix things out. But then, okay, so now I have the other thing. So I just want to go out there. So I said to about that's the whole YouTube Twitch. Twitch has been making a lot of decisions, and again, as I've said, we talked about this. I'm not really gonna like belabor this point and go over it again. I'm just gonna say Twitch has been making a lot of like questionable decisions as far as how they want to deal with their creators and their viewers and things like that over the last year, honestly. And that's why I'm gonna be building more of a YouTube presence, and part of that also is like why I always tell people like, oh, follow me on Twitter. I don't use Instagram a lot. I will be honest, I don't know how viable Instagram is as a platform, nor am I like gonna be like, oh, I have to use Instagram or TikTok. Again, there are states that are moving to ban TikTok. I don't know how much of a time it is to worth me to try to build up a following on TikTok. The easiest way for me to do anything with TikTok, if I'm honest, is gonna be to take the clips I make off of here and off for the YouTube shorts, stuff that I edit down for like that 30 to 60 second content, and then just farm it out and like just like mirror post what I post on YouTube shorts onto TikTok. That's going to be the best way for me to honestly handle that and to kind of grow to establish any sort of presence there. Because again, if I'm editing content down, because again, I don't have an editing team, like I'm not looking for one. It's not like me being like, oh, I need an editor. It's like literally, I'm not paying for an editor. I'm not at that phase or even anywhere remotely near there. Like I will go through and I will be editing things, and if I'm editing things for this and editing things for that, I'm not going to spend another time just kind of trimming it down, specially for yet another platform. And I'm being honest. Like I think in the beginning, like if you're trying to build something, that's great. If something seems like it'll fit better on TikTok than it would like necessarily on your main channel, then by all means, I'll make those decisions as they come. But I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I have to. No, it's not going to be like that. The other thing is like, again, with me having the doing a lot of tabletop things, if all of a sudden like you're like, oh, I'm going to go through now, it's one thing on the VODs to go through and say, okay, well that's what he did that day, but it's another thing like if you're going on the Sherelynn channel and all of a sudden like you see everything about video games and like me talking about like different topics related to that, and then all of a sudden like me to drop into like, and today we're going to be painting this model, which is pretty much how I talk when I stream any sort of painting. I literally become Bob Ross and like Mini Ross. And today we're going to paint this. And if we make a mistake here, that's no big deal. In life, we just have happy little accidents and things like that. And that's going to be a drastically different thing. And then the YouTube algorithm is going to go, I am confused now. I don't know what to do. The guy was doing one thing and now he's doing something else. And I don't know how to deal with this. So like that's kind of like why you split things up into different channels. And it also gives people an opportunity. Like if somebody's like, oh, I really love his stuff, but like I really like when he does the tabletop. I'm not so crazy about the video game stuff. Well, cool. That gives them an option to go to this. Oh, so you definitely want to go to the Vale Craftworks channel, or you definitely want to go to like the VODs channel to just like, oh, I just want to listen to him while I'm going to sleep or like whatever. And one of the things I found out last week, which is something else that's kind of opened up another area for me, is the fact that there is a really great thing that I didn't, it's like I'm learning about things, So obviously a lot of things go into public domain after a while, after the copyright expires. And things like, the works of Arthur Conan Doyle with the Sherlock Holmes, and even like the entirety of Edgar Allan Poe, it is all up for public domain, which means I can read them on stream without getting DMCA or copyright striked. Which means that opens up a whole new world of things for me to do, especially when it comes down to wanting to do things in the voice acting world, which is something I've been thinking about for a while. And why do I say this is important? Because if I want to get good at reading copy, having the opportunity to do so in a format like this, which is a live format, to be able to take something and read it over twice, rehearse it a bit, and then perform it, gives me the opportunity to perform something, but also to create different content. So it's like, hey, tonight we're going to read through The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Like, it's something I could do. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And while I'm writing stuff for my game and other things other projects that I'm working on, it gives me the opportunity to expand my command of memorizing copy and then reading stuff and performing it in a live format. And of course, that's one of the reasons I love doing it this way. And again, like I said, doing it on the VTuber model on Sherelynn here takes all of the stage fright aspect out of it for me. I'm not on stage. I'm not on camera with my face. I'm on camera. Well, I'm not on camera at all. I'm on with, and believe me, tonight's one of the best nights. Example of why I'm glad I'm not. I made dinner and I went to go, take a taste of something, scalded my lip, and gave myself a nice 3rd-degree burn on part of my lip, which is just all swollen right now and angry red, and that was fun. Not big. It's just a small area, but like, it's like, oh, tonight's a good night for it. It's another reason why, like, I am happy that I have this model. But this gives me opportunities to practice on things and to bring other forms of content on there, and gives me a wider range of things that I can do now. And I'm not just talking about the model. I'm talking about, being able to go into the public domain and to like get some stuff to prepare things that makes it easier for the holidays, that makes it easier for different days that I want to maybe do something a little bit special, or a little bit different. And of course, there is the whole, well, what happens with the Milk Show if you're going to be doing a lot of just traditional like React content or video gaming on Sherelynn on the main channel? What are you going to do on, well, fret not, the podcast lives. And that's like the easiest content to make, because it's literally just me deciding what I want to do, and then just going with it, recording the audio for it, editing, and I always record the audio for that on my like on this PC, because then I run it into the audio mixer. I edit out like all the background noise and like the times where I just like flub a line, or I'll be like silence for like no reason, and it breaks things up just because I have an odd speech pattern sometimes. Then I can edit that out and make it sound pleasing to the ear, and edit out any background noise that might be in there, like any kind of like latent static or anything else like that, and make it sound really good, because I have spent years doing that. And then just kind of export it, import it into a video program, run that, and it's like, this is the easiest video to make. Like, if I'm going to put it up on a podcast channel or the Milk Show channel, there's going to be another channel. Just hold on to your seats, chat. I know, but just hold on to your seats. Yes, there'll probably be a 4th channel just for podcasts. And the reason is because there will actually be a podcast that'll be available on your favorite podcast service that will go out, that will feature different content. So yes, I am planning on doing a lot of content that I have always wanted to do. Some of it will be stuff that I will just take out of the recording here and strip out parts that I want, strip the audio out, convert it, edit it, and then publish it to the podcast, and then just do a simple upload for that onto a channel where people may just want to just put it on and listen to it. I have things that I'm working on. Some of these may be good ideas, some of them may be bad ideas, but all of the ideas still have to be given a little bit of a chance to like be tested so that I know what I like, what seems to be working, what doesn't, and I can kind of like then fine tune the content that I want to make and get everything out there and know kind of like what I'm enjoying doing and what seems to be working versus like something that, you know, like maybe I'm not having the most fun with and I want to maybe cut out. This gives me a lot of options. So, and it gives me also the options to visit things in the future and try new things and expand my horizons. Just something I'd like to do. As far as it goes with, like talking about like the VTubing in specific, I love actually doing stuff with people, and I'm talking about specifically like when it comes like to gameplay and stuff like that, or like doing a chat to somebody. I used to love doing the Milk Show where I would sit down with people and talk to them, and we would stream it, and it would be like this. One of the things I want to bring back is doing that and doing collaborations with people like Jakatsu and I did when we were doing raising money to help Sam when Sam was having a hard time back in like October, November, where I would sit there and we would hang out, and then Jakatsu would draw a lot of the stuff that we came up with, where we were doing like people were throwing out ideas, where we were sitting down doing character like monster creation for the RPG. And I was like giving Jakatsu, and we were kind of brainstorming, giving Jakatsu ideas, and then Jakatsu was like drawing the artwork to the monsters. So I have all of those, of course. And but I would love to do that with like Womble or Jakatsu. We could work out something where we could just like sit there and like make something cool or funky or something like that on stream. Or like sit there and do like a collab with Ruby, or like, you know, like or like go on like chill with Hog on Cafe Casual or some stuff like that, because there's a lot of stuff that I like to do, and like chatting with people and things like that. Doing like just a standard like old format like talk show. Like one of the things I love doing, obviously talking and doing stuff like this. That's why I always put this in the talk show category, because yes, it is just chatting, but for the most part, I try to follow a little bit more of a format like a nighttime talk show. And I always try to have things planned out where it's not necessarily just chatting. Like there's points of going over, we're talking about specific things. There's usually like if I'm doing a Milk Show and I have things that I want to like really touch on, like when we were doing like discussing what Twitch was doing, discussing things on YouTube. Even tonight, this is more of like there's been a lot of information on like, brand it, how to like kind of manage your brands and things like that. It's not just like me like being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and oh look, a shiny thing over here, and oh look, let's see what these funny people did on YouTube. Part of the problem I have with doing React content, which I will do some of, but is like really I'm gonna be is like remembering the shorts and the funny things that I watch, and remember, like being like, yeah, let's go watch this, and I just want to kind of watch these things with you because they're cool and they're fun and they're funny to watch, or sometimes I'll have like a comment on them. So like there's certainly things out there that I want to like comment on and do some of, but I have to do it in the Captain Milk way, which is my way, rather than doing it other ways. So, you know, I'm still trying to kind of select the kind of stuff I want to watch. Sometimes it's just going to be stuff where like I'm not somebody. So just to go on to that, a lot of people will watch something and they'll pause it in the middle and they'll go over it. Like Zeppla has a way where she does things where she'll watch a video and she'll do a react, but she'll watch it and she'll pause it and then give a reaction to what she's seen so far. And that me, I function in a different way just because my mind, like everybody's brains works differently. I'll watch things in one area, like I'll be like, oh, I'm going to watch this, but I'll watch it straight through. Or if I'm watching something cool, like obviously if like when something cool that one of my friends does that I really want to just like promote for them because I think it's awesome and I want them to see something, like, for instance, Jonathan. Whenever Jonathan Young puts out a new music video, I want to show it. I want to put a link to it in chat. I want everybody to go there, but I also want to watch it with everybody because it's awesome to see somebody cool do something really neat, and I want people to like see the cool thing. But I'm not going to be like in the middle of the song, be like, yeah, this is really good. Like, I'm going to watch the song with y'all, and then we're going to like talk about it, be like, watch the video, be like, wasn't that awesome? This is why I love, like that's the kind of way I react to things, which is a little bit different. Or like we might watch something and I might just burst out laughing in the middle of it, especially if it's funny. Like a lot of the things, like my favorite YouTube Shorts creator, one of my favorite YouTube Shorts creators is Jordan Howlett. And he does like a lot of like, he's like, does the president of the fast food, was it Fast Food Secrets Club, where and he'll go in and he'll just do a lot of funny things, or he'll react to something that he's seen and he'll be like, but it's like a TikTok, but it's funny, and he's just got this funny way of presenting things. And I love watching his stuff because they always make me laugh. Or the guy that does the funny food, where he looks like John Cryer. He's got that higher registering voice, but he does like and he's very clever. He's very funny. I forget his name, but he does like these crazy recipes. And again, these are the YouTube Shorts that I love. Or there's a guy that does like the languages that are like French and English and like and German, that they're all talking. It's like they make the language, and he's very funny too. And it's just these funny things that I find to be amusing, that I like to go through and like to watch, because I think they're really creative, and they're not like other things that I see. Like for me, I spent a lot of time watching, like, I'm old. I've been around since YouTube's been around, right? But like, I like watching like things that definitely like I think that are pretty amusing on a very kind of like somewhat wholesome level. Because I don't always go for something like, I certainly don't really care for stuff that's edgy. I like stuff that's just legitimately funny, that anybody can sit down and laugh at and just, or appreciate, or just be like, wow, that's fucking cool. Or especially like if Peppy and Bucket are doing something funny, and there's some funny clips that we got from Bucket or funny clips that we got from Peppy, which, let's be honest, there usually are. Or we can watch some. I love watching shit that my friends do and reacting to that, because it's just something that's new. And hey, if you're somebody that just comes to my channel, maybe you came here from the 14 community and you're not really familiar with Peppy, maybe you see something that Peppy does or Mills does, and you're like, oh my God, they look really awesome. And then I put a link to it. I'm like, yeah, definitely go check them out, follow them. Then they find somebody else, and then maybe Peppy gets a new community member, or Mills gets a new community member. Bucket, well, everybody loves Bucket. Bucket's just, a giant happy person that everybody should just love on, because he's just a really, really good person and would give you a hug if you needed it. So like, that's what I mean. Like when I talk about things like this is one of the things I like doing. So like my React content is generally stuff like that. And then of course, yeah, there's going to be things that I find amusing. A lot of the times, like I watch a lot of, like, I always have like streams open, multiple streams open, because again, like I have multiple monitors. So I'll have like multiple streams. Even now, like I'll be honest, I have Eros on my other screen right now. I have Bucket on the other screen, and I have on my other computers, obviously, like they're low, so that you don't hear them through my, obviously. But I don't mute. By the way, don't mute. Put it on low, or like mute the tab, but don't mute the thing, because it does something funky with if you're a viewer or not, or whatever. Don't mute if you can help it. Try not to mute. To make sure you're like, if you're following somebody, but you got to mute them for something. Just giving you a bit of a heads up on something. I don't know if they've changed that. If they did, then and I'm giving you the wrong information, like, that's cool. Let me know. But like for the most part, like I said, I like watching what people are doing. I like watching my friends. I like supporting my friends. I like supporting people that are just legitimately creative. And one of the things, and we're going to get to the lore portion. We didn't miss the lore. I'm going to go to that. But you know me, I go on tangents. Like Zan put it that one day, Mel's, what do you say? Mel's delicious tangents. It's like a candy with me. But like I love going around and doing different things, and I legit love. And I went off on a tangent. And now I derailed myself. See how that happens? Um, but like one of the things that again, like that's also great about this is I've been watching a lot of creators and going to a lot of different places because, like Ruby, I love Ruby for a number of reasons. First of all, Ruby's a sweetheart. Ruby Vox. But I'm going to tell you one of the things I really love about Ruby the most. Okay, it's the fact that she doesn't just like get on and do like react, or she doesn't just go on and just do collabs. She also will do these amazing covers, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about watching a lot of people that. And I think again, when I talk about VTubing and things like that, it's literally it's the fact that again that stage fright aspect of it gets lessened to such a significant degree that a lot of the creators that are out there now, right, they're going to get out there and they're going to be like, oh, since I'm not on cam, I'm going to feel like if I want to sing, I can sing or I could do things. And it gives them more confidence to do things and kind of get out of that comfort zone. So when you can get out of that comfort zone and start expanding into other things, like I love watching, like if you've ever watched an Artwomble stream, and yeah, I know you're still here, Artwomble, but I'm going to feel like if you ever watched an Artwomble stream, you'll know that Art loves to sing. And it's amazing and I love listening to that. And yeah, totally can't relate to that. Sure, buddy. But like, here's the thing about that, right? It definitely, like if I was on Facecam with that, no way in hell would I be tempted. But like if somebody was like, if we were doing a charity or whatever, and we're gonna set a goal, and it was like, oh, Mel's got to sing something, you bet your ass I will like this because again that stage fright aspect is not there. I can't guarantee it's going to be good. I can't guarantee that halfway through your ears might not bleed, but I could definitely tell you I'm going to give it a shot. So, that's the honest to God thing about that. And one of those things that's been great about this, and I tell you, is like I've like watched. I spent a lot of time over in Bow the Whales like Discord and in the community and watching things and seeing somebody that just went from starting streaming as a VTuber, just playing games, to somebody that's put out a couple of actual albums that they've produced and they've got merch lines and they've become very successful with that. That's a case of where like I see a lot of things, like especially with that, like, oh yeah, you're not everybody that's going to do it. Like the VTube bubble is burst, obviously. Yes, there's ton of us out there, a ton of things out there, and you're not going to have everybody's going to be like, oh no, it's just an instant way to do this. No, but you will have people that will then push the envelope of what they're comfortable of, get out of their comfort zones, and find success doing other things and branching out. And you see that with Bao, you see that with Numi. Numi has put out like a bunch of different EPs and rec albums, and just at Offkai last weekend went up and did her first concert. Even though there were a lot of issues, she still got up to go sing a song and was able to do that and have that experience and try something new and be good at it. Like the music is actually really good, and it's something that is inspiring to watch. It's something where you see a lot of people that are doing that. Like Ghoul is another one. Ghoul Mommy, she gets out there. She does she does art. She makes a lot of models for, I don't know. I want to say she's made a few models for people, but she also does just really good artwork. She'll get on 14. I mean, we know she has a crippling addiction to 14. She's probably going through withdrawal from it. Yo, no problem, Womble. But like, yeah. We'll do that, take commissions, go into 14 and just wait for people to come up and have their character sketched. And then like you can go and she's just somebody that's really good artist that's really like grown. And I'm going to say this, once Gumi gets back to where moves back to, the U.S. and she gets settled and has like consistent, reliable internet and stuff, I'm gonna say like I can't imagine her not getting partner and not like also like having a good like YouTube stream and stuff like that, or YouTube channel and things like that. Because one thing, art channels like that where you got somebody even doing sped up drawing where you just time lapse it and then just speed it up, like that's always going to be a good point. Like people are always going to enjoy watching, especially if you have an audience, especially with the kind of things that you could be. Yeah, that's going to be a great avenue for content. So, I mean, there's a lot of great things out there. And again, this is why I'm always excited to see things in this arena. Not to mention, this gives me an opportunity. So what else am I going to do with well, I can actually literally take the characters of Bix and all of my characters and just put them into stills and make a comic and just write things and post some funny things up on Twitter, on Instagram, where it's just something humorous. Funny interactions at the bar, funny interactions in the library, funny interactions here or there, where I could just put them in odd situations, which I wouldn't obviously be get into. And I'll be honest with you, I am not gonna embarrass myself by drawing stick figures again. And if anybody was here during Sam's Gardic phone streams, when we did that on stream, and it got to me, and I was just like in paint, like, okay, we're gonna use the circle tool, and we're gonna use the square tool, and we're gonna make Picasso's inspired artwork. That's what we did, and that's me at Gardic phone. Well, all right, that was me at Gardic phone with paint and a mouse. Now I do have a tablet, and I do know how to draw. I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but it's something that I got to do things like when I want to add in stuff for the streamer, I want to design an asset that I want to use, or I want to get flesh out an idea and be like, this is kind of what I was thinking of, and then show it to Womble, and then have Womble be like, oh yeah, I can do that. Or give it to Jikatsu, and Jikatsu can work on it. Or, like something like that. Be like, this is kind of like the reference what I was going for, and here's my rudimentary drawing of it, and send it off, and oh, okay, I see what you got there. Rather than did you just take a picture of a piece of napkin with a pen drawing on it that looks like you were drunk when you drew? That's what it would look like otherwise. So this gives me an opportunity to kind of do it in a little bit more professional style, step a little bit further out of my comfort zone. And of course, there's other things too. Obviously, gaming is a thing that I want to do and kind of jump back into a little bit. I've still been playing games. To be fair, I'm definitely on the maintenance mode in 14, where I'm logging in every day, doing my farm, or going to my island, doing my bit in Gold Saucer. Then I check some things at my retainers, and then I just basically just chill. I will log out of the game. I'm in the game pretty much for a half hour to an hour, and then I'll log out. And then for the rest of the time, I'll pretty much just be I'm going to go, and then I'll do my dailies in Honkai and then Genshin, because to be honest, people are like, oh, but you got to log in. I'm like, yeah, I got to log in and do 4 quick quests, daily quests in Genshin that take me all of 10 minutes to do. And I get they give me enough things, and if there's an event, I'll go do the event, and I'll get more primos. And then when the next character comes out, I'll have enough to do 30 or 40 pulls without having to spend a dime in Genshin. And I'll do the same thing for Honkai. The best part about Honkai was I had enough for 50 pulls, and I got it. I got the new 5-star Lucha in 20 pulls. So it's oh, well, I got him for free, and now I have a bunch of extra stellar gems, or whatever they're called. Not stellarons. That's oh, stellaron. We got to go seal that. But yeah, I have that all saved up. So I was like, ooh, this is great. Now I have all of this stuff now I've saved it up. And honestly, I love going and doing stuff in Honkai, because Honkai is, Star Rail is just it is a really well done turn-based RPG with really good characters, a really good story, and like I have a lot of fun in it. There's nothing in there that makes me feel like, oh my god. But again, there's nothing in there that makes me feel like I got to spend money. And there's nothing in there that makes me like feel like they're hitting me over the head with ads. No. The interface is clean, the gameplay is great, the animation is great. It is, and for those that are asking like the question, so but why is it in Honkai? Everything looks grander when you go to a thing. Obviously, I said this before. We said this at the beginning. When Honkai came out, it was like, why is the characters seem? Why does the world seem more detailed, more impressive when you're standing in like a city? And that's because you're not in a perpetual world. We're logging in. And it has to have, the game engine has to have everything in there. So so for instance, in Genshin, if I'm going, and Genshin, still gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking Genshin at all. But when you're standing in Mondstadt, there's only so much verticality that Mondstadt can have. So you're not going to get the same feeling of immersion that you get when you're standing in Euro 4 and you're in the middle of the city and the upper world, and you could see like these big. The city has this more impressive because its verticality is built in. Or when you're in the Zhang, the Luof, I forget the new place. We're gonna call it because I'm gonna fuck up the name really badly. But when you're in the new place and you're looking up, because you're in a smaller map and it's not loading in the rest of the information for the world, it's only loading what's in that map, you can build a more visually impressive and immersive world when you're not loading in an entire open world. So that's why you have more verticality and more stuff in different areas, and that's why the places, the different worlds you go to are broken up into different maps. So that's why it's the same engine, but it's just they're able to do more with it and make it be more appealing. And that's one of the reasons why but they have good writers, it's a good game, and I think still kind of sets the bar really high for where you can go in these kind of games. And that's important. Now, when I get to something like other games that I play, Diablo 4, like I said yesterday, I still think Diablo 4 is just still new. It's still kind of in its like, ooh, this is brand new, but they haven't gotten to the seasonal model yet. And again, I will remind people, because there's a lot of people that are just getting into it that have never played an action RPG before. Guess what? Yes, the Battle Pass for the stuff that you want is actually free. It's all of the other, cosmetic items or those things. Those are on the premium pass, but the other stuff is all free. So like, I get an experience boost at level. Well, this is speculation. Like, at level 10, I get an experience boost. Yes, that's free. Everybody gets access to that. You're not paying for that. But again, that's going to be, then everybody gets level 10 and they get a boost that's going to help them level up faster or get renowned faster, or whatever, however they're going to do it. But that's built into the free portion of that. So you don't have to pay for that. And that's a lot of people like putting out videos like, but you got to pay the 10. No, you don't. And again, this is largely coming from the Destiny community that, yes, they do have to pay for their seasonal battle pass. And oh my God, that's clearly different. And it's just something that, again, I've taken the stance of like, we just got to tell people what's actually going on rather than, So again, that's why I say like Diablo, I feel like when the first season comes out and we see how things are going to be and we get a good feeling for what the game is going to be like going forward, then we're going to really be able to put out a full comprehensive review on Diablo 4 rather than like just reviewing it off of the merits that it's at launch, because at launch, again, you're only getting the eternal portion of the game, not the seasonal model, which is what most of the people are going to be playing in for a majority of the time going forward with the game. It's like, Diablo 2 came out, and we all know that Diablo 2 is for those of you that don't know, Diablo 2 was like kind of the game that set the bar for what an action RPG is. And so even in the past, when you look at a game like Destiny, and they were like, we have to redo our armor, we're still looking at Diablo 2, which came out in 2000, as a model for how we want to build our game. And that's how it's kind of working from there. So, yeah, but when people talk about Diablo 2 now, like for instance, when Resurrected came out, well, yeah, sure, but it's still, people are reviewing it not based on just the base game. They're basing it on the base game plus the seasonal model going forward. And that's how you kind of really look at the game and be like, okay, this is how that's going to work. And that is exactly how it's going to work. That's how it works like that. So that's why I like looking at that like, oh, well, this is the model that we're going to use and we're going to work with. And this is how I really want to put out a review of the entire game going forward. But again, you have a game that's hitting a much wider market now than you would. And again, also another thing you're going to hear, and just as the last kind of, I'm going to touch on the video that I promised, we're going to get to the lore stuff. You get a game that came out like Final Fantasy 16 now, and people are like, well, it's not selling as well as 15 did. Yeah. There's a couple of reasons for that. 15 was also available on the Xbox. That accounted for roughly 25% of all the sales of 15. Now, because of the way Sony is, and Sony, of course, hates anything to do with Microsoft or any other platform, it's a Sony exclusive, which is also stupidly why it was getting review bombed on Metacritic, because it was only available on the PlayStation 5. The thing is, yes, this is, if Square is going to bitch at anybody, if Square should bitch at itself for accepting the deal, but also should bitch at Sony for not letting it put it out on other platforms right away and forcing exclusivity down for 6 months, because that is going to negatively impact any kind of sales predictions that they were having with that. Not everybody wants, and again, this is why I will say, and I said this before, I love the PlayStation itself. I hate Sony PlayStation as a company. And again, I'm not a big fan of any of the companies, but I will never feel bad for Sony if like they ever like, oh wow, we lost this generation of the console wars. Get fucked, Sony, for exclusivity. You're the ones that have been like the flag bearers for exclusivity since like the dawn of the video game consoles. Well, yeah, Nintendo. We can definitely go with Nintendo for that as being like the real bastards with exclusivity, because Nintendo, not only are they bastards about their titles, but they're also very litigious, which is, they love to, oh, you looked at Nintendo wrong. Their lawyers are coming for you. But I mean, that's the truth. I think people know that. Like that's not like a surprise, you know. But that doesn't change the fact that Nintendo also does know how to make, you know, when they got a first party game coming out, you very rarely see people be like, that Zelda game was absolute garbage. Like that's almost never going to happen. Or that Pokemon game. Well, okay, you'll hear people be like, oh yeah, that Pokemon game it's the buggiest piece of shit I've ever seen, but it was fun. There's always that but, and it was fun that follows pretty much every Pokemon release. That's why they've gotten away with the same game with slightly different skins and different Pokemon for like as many years as they have. So, yeah. But here's the other thing. It's still a lot of great games out there. And a lot of things. And something that came out yesterday I didn't even know about was the Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, which is apparently like the open world 3D rendered version of Stardew Valley. It's the only way I can describe this game. I watched Val play it last night. I watched a few other people play it today and check in on it, and that looks absolutely fantastic. If you're into that type of game, of course, but it's another one of these games that is, I'm sure, is going to, it's already, if it hasn't already, it's probably going to, and it might not, because again, Final Fantasy is still like brand spanking new, and Diablo 4 has still got its hold into a lot of people, so it may not just yet, but I do think that this is going to be another big hit, something you're going to see a lot of people streaming, because it generally, looked like a really good version of this. It's like that open world, like emotion, kind of like 3D immersive style sim that would go along. Like if you were like, oh, I really want this kind of added in, it's got it. So that could definitely be cool. And again, I'm looking forward to Remnant 2. Like I said, yes, like earlier today. Remnant 2 is one of the big ones that I'm definitely like excited for. Remnant 2 is coming out in just about a month, actually. Yeah, just a little bit less than a month now. I think it's coming out on July 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be another game. Now, I don't think that's going to be like, oh, like 100,000 people watching it on Twitch. No. But I do think it's going to be a game that a lot of people are going to take notice of, especially if you're a fan of the Souls style games. I don't want to say Souls like because there's enough of a difference, but it's definitely in that vein of a Souls style game where you can definitely get into it, have fun playing it, and have a bit of a challenge. It's not going to be a walk through the park to play it. And I know a lot of people that know about it are looking forward to it, and I'm excited for it myself, and I will be one of the people that will definitely be streaming it. So that's good. Now, I guess we're going to go into the other portion of today's preview. And I want to thank everybody that stopped in today, whether you're here for 5 minutes or you're here for the whole thing, to come and hang out. Because, as I said, this is a preview. There are still some assets that I want to put in. There's a couple of things I'm going to change around about some of the opening music, but I'm going to show you guys all the screens again before we go. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the lore for Sherelynn here. For this particular, this is kind of Sherelynn Prime. Now I say Sherelynn 2.0 because originally, obviously, the first PNG model I had was based on my character Sherelynn in Final Fantasy XIV. This I used so to talk about the design process a little bit of how Sherelynn came to be. I did start out by creating a character in Final Fantasy XIV to use as a reference, and then finding an appropriate mix of outfits and coloration and dyes to then present to Womble to give him a reference for how the character, for the baseline for the character, like rough idea of proportions and things, and then we tweaked it a bit in discussions, and then like this is the overall way that she came to be. Now, to discuss a little bit about the whole lore, I wanted to do something different. Now, you got a lot of, like, for most part, you have your magical girls, you have your demons, you have your dragons, you have your harpies, you have your sea life, because there's like shark VTubers, whale VTubers, shrimp VTubers, fish VTubers. They're all over the gamut. You've got your cat girls. I didn't really want anything like that. I wanted to go with a necromancer slash kind of semi-demon, which is what the horns on the head are. And I wanted to go with a necromancer because you don't see a lot of necromancers. And the lore is that I started out by messing with dark powers, and as a result, I got basically my body got destroyed in my actual body got destroyed in a ritual gone wrong, and I was given a second chance by a trickster demon. And as part of that humor, they put me into a female demon body, and I thus became a necromancer. Now, I don't have a problem with this. I think it's a new and exciting life to lead. And I am now, that's why I have a male voice. Now, some might say, well, that's just because you smoke a lot of cigarettes. But listen, if Daddy goes to the store to buy cigarettes and milk, Daddy's not coming back. I'm back. So I did that, just really wanted to say that. Don't hold that as basis for anything. But here's the deal, right? That's why you got a male voice and a female and this hot female demonic necromancer body. And Yeah, yeah, and we didn't want Sherelynn to be flat, like a flat 2D model, no pun intended. So she's got a little bit of something. Unfortunately, I don't have as so I'm not as well endowed in the chest area, but that's fine. But this way, if somebody wants to make the mommy milkers, now you actually have milkers to point at and be like, yes, and it kind of makes like that's an in joke between us. So you all hear now when mommy milkers gets brought up. Well, now not only do you have like in joke about get milked, which we can all thank Peppy for, but now we can have a tongue in cheek kind of kind of joke. So yes, that's between us. And again, like this is something that I am looking forward to when we do like a proper live 2D rigging and things like that, which will be in the future. It's not it may be this year, it may not be. I'm just saying that I love this model. And I am excited to have the rest of the stuff that I want to add in. We will do kind of like a more thorough, like I will do like an in character thing. I will probably film a little bit of something to kind of like roll for a lore video, and then we'll do something like that. It should be fun. But the main reason I do that is just for the fun aspect. Like again, for me, the fun about this is kind of building a character like I would in an RPG kind of setting, and then like obviously doing the acting like I did for Bix. So when we do the Bix character, because Bix is actually related to marketing for a campaign that I'm actually designing, so that's actually different. Bix, I already have the character, the personality, everything else worked at. Sherelynn is an extension of who I've been for years in gaming, which is just a different side of me that you all see. A lot of you get to see it's not really going to be, she's not going to be terribly different from me, but like there will be things where I'd be like, oh, I am a necromancer after all. Kind of sly comments like that I could make and just have a little fun with. And that gives me an opportunity to kind of design a fun little, and this is something I'm going to be working on, design a fun little pet to have that maybe one day could be a sticker or something. If the stream, as the stream grows and things like that happen, and we kind of get things that I would love to have a little animated sidekick that would hover next to me on screen somewhere on stream that could just kind of chill, but that would be like definitely go with the necromancer vibe. Yay, pets, exactly. Hi, Peppy. Hello there. Gotcha. I'm going to shout out the Pepperon. Please go follow Peppy. If you don't already follow Peppy, please go follow Peppy. Oh, yeah, no, of course. Peppy is amazing, awesome, and wonderful. And loves the murder. Digital murder. Not actual murder. I should specify. Digital murder. But Peppy is amazing. And I love Peppy. Peppy is one of my favorite people in the whole world. Who one day I will actually get to hang out with, and that'll be fun, and we'll have a great time, and we'll laugh and laugh and laugh. We'll have a good time. Also, Peppy is one of the hardest working mods in the entirety of Twitch. I will say that because Peppy, yes, fucking COVID. Because Peppy is extremely good with modding and doesn't take no guff from no one. So don't forget that. But yeah, no, there's a lot of great things and a lot of fun things. And one of the things that I eventually want to do, I made Peppy a mod of my listen, this motherfucker. Yeah, I think Peppy's been modded at almost every channel I've been at. I'm still not sure if she's modding on one of Mills's channels, but I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just put it that way. Um, but I always know when I go into a channel that like there's a friend, and like if I go into like if I want to see who else is hanging out here tonight, if I see Pepe's usually in the whole in that whole mods section. I usually know I always know it's a safe stream then. Yeah, and she will find a way to ban me from my own channel. Yeah, if anybody does, it'll be Pepe. I'll tell you that. It's one mod and intends to keep that up. That's fair, and that's worked for him, and that's great. Oh, but yeah, like no, just been having a lot of fun, doing the things. I can certainly understand that. Like I have a Sherelynn for Twitch that I've had for a while, but I won't switch. Now, of course, when I stream on YouTube, it was a conscious decision to promote the brand there, because there's reasons for that. That largely goes with branding the name, branding the content over there. But yeah, I mean, also because like the Melkandor, I don't want to have to edit some like 200 something videos and get that, some of which are now like 7 or 8 years old, and go through all of that, because no. So I'm happier with the setup that I have now. But yeah, so like this kind of the thing. I'm also excited. One of the greatest things is, so one of my friends who's been doing who has lived in Korea for like essentially the past 18 years, just moved back to this side of the world. Now he's living in British Columbia, and he had a very successful voice acting career in South Korea. South Korea, and he just came back, and I'm excited because one thing, amazing voice actor, amazing voice work, knows a ton about the industry too, and generally has one of the funniest like senses of, like has one of the best senses of humor I think I have ever had. My friend Garen and I used to sit whenever we would get together, we would sit there and we would make everybody laugh. And that was one of the things, because we're good at naturally having that chemistry that was like just playing off of each other's senses of humor, and could do that. And I am excited to see if he's going to stream, because I think he's going to be, I know he'll definitely probably be doing a podcast, and I know he's going to be building up rebuilding his recording studio at his house. So I'm excited to see what he's doing. Also, I should like Garen. It was always a really really tremendously talented person. Went to Boston Conservatory for Music. Was really really well. Like he's a classically trained. Like when I talk about bass, like the standing bass, like you got to stand up for that. But he's also like regular, like electric bass too. Like he's just a really talented musician. Played a lot of like jazz and fusion and rock too, and like just has a really great voice for recording and stuff. And I'm just excited to see, like, I love when talented friends, because I have so many talented friends, get out and do some amazing stuff, and that always makes me happy. Thank you for shouting at RPG. Yeah, I know. I saw RPG was playing 16. I have been doing everything I can to like avoid watching 16. So like I'll have somebody on, but I won't necessarily pay attention to the stream, because I want to support my friends. But at the same point, I want to spoil myself on it. So I've been watching, like, I will definitely go and like hang out, but I will definitely also just be like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm also going to lurk, and I'm not going to pay attention to what you're doing, but I will watch. I will have you. I will support. But yeah. And I think that's the reason. The reason, obviously, is because of the fact that it is being put out by Creative Business Unit 3. Obviously, the people that are behind 14, and also behind like the battle system was designed by the same guy who did develop the Devil May Cry 5 battle system, which I loved. So like I'm like, there's so many good things. But I will say this: like I'm just excited that this year certainly has been a good year for games so far. Um, whether free to play or premium or AAA or whatever you want to call it, there's been a lot of great games that have released on multiple platforms. So I'm excited to see the rest of the year and how some of these things are going to pan out. I am very disappointed that I want to say this. One of the things I guess I'll go just switching back to video games for a minute. One of the interesting things I was watching was a video the other day about how Lost Ark is dying, which doesn't surprise me, and how like unfortunately like New World is also like seems to be in a race with Lost Ark to see which game can die the fastest as far as player populations, I should say. Well, Lost Ark got very pay to win for the West, and I think that's one of the reasons I stopped playing it a long time ago. I stopped playing it like in the first like 2 months that it was out. I didn't put money into the game, but like after I was just like, nope, I'm not gonna go back and play, because there are other games that you can like play if you want to do the same thing. Like for the amount of like stuff, if I want like another like MMO style game with a little bit of action RPG to it, like combat, I can literally just go play Black Desert Online, have the most amazing character creation system known to man, because let's face it, like half of those games, like let me just say this. You can make one hell of a good looking character in Black Desert Online. I played Black Desert Online for like 2 years. And I loved I spent like when I was making my character, I spent so much time like just adjusting each minute detail that you could really go so in depth with it. You could literally do like a week-long stream just creating your character. And one of the things I will say is one of the things that pissed me off about Ring of Elysium going offline, or like dying and not being my favorite battle royale, which it was. Well, okay. I'll go into is because I designed what I still think. Peppy, I really appreciate that. So, like I said, with drawing, like I still have to kind of knock the rust off of my ability to draw, but I was more good with objects and drawing and settings, like environments than I am with like characters. So I love setting up the environments and like objects, and then like describing to like Womble or Jakatsu, like what can you draw like somebody that like this and then, oh yeah, definitely. But when it comes to video games, if you give me a character creation tool, hell yeah, I can do that. One of my best friends, Heather, all right, she is gorgeous. But she and I will spend so much time on Amazon when she's like, I need to go shopping. I'm like, okay, I'm getting on with you. We're gonna let's do this, and we'll talk because I know what she likes to wear. I know what kind of fashion she likes to wear, but she's not she'll just be like, she'll buy everything Sheer, and I'll be like, no, you can't just buy everything Sheer. I mean, yeah, she's gonna wear it like that because that's just Heather, but like I always help her pick out some ensembles to get. And I just love doing that. But Bendo and I have had conversations about that for like cosplays ideas and stuff like that. Like I'll see something cool, I'll be like, Bendo, could you do something with this for cosplay? Oh, that would be awesome. And and then it'll wind up on Throne. But something like that sometimes, because it's just the way I love tinkering with outfits and things like it. Probably should have been in fashion design. But when it comes to like a character creation screen, like, oh, you should see. Hey, Nico, sure. Welcome. When it comes to character creation, I will spend time like I should show you my Elden Ring character. I made a gorgeous Elden Ring character, and I will spend time looking at outfits, especially if there's like a deep fashion endgame, which is why I love fashion endgame, I will spend so much time picking out different pieces that'll go together, and then like looking at different dyes to kind of, so you get pieces and they're not always going to be the same color. You'll always go through that like murder hobo, as I love to put it, portion of any game or any fashion where it's like, oh, this isn't gonna. But then you pick out a color scheme and you dye it, and then it brings everything together. I love that. Oh yeah, fashion souls too, absolutely. And that's one of the things. Like when it came to like part of the reason I was like also really interested in doing the VTubing thing was the fashion aspect of it, being able to change the fashion onto characters and do things like that makes it so much more fun for me. It's like, oh, that ad, and then I like if, and like one of the things is one of the games I play, I'm not going to mention the game, that I use some extra tools in to play with the fashion. It gives me the option to try different fashion pieces on, see how they look, and then create an ensemble from that so that I can then do what we did here with Sherelynn, because that is a multiple creating that consists of multiple pieces of fashion that then, like Womble gave it the Womble touch and made it look even better than it, made it look much better and much more unique than it did in game. And I like that. We're gonna coin that the Womble touch. Perfect. But yeah, so these are the things that I like to do when I bring things in, and I like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's add this in here, and I love to see how that comes out. And it's the same thing with characters. Like one of the reasons, like a lot of people use Hero Forge for making their miniatures. When I do design a character that I'm going to use for a tabletop, I'll do it in Eldritch Foundry, because Eldritch Foundry gives me the deep facial. Like I can go in and do cheekbones. I can do like the bridges of the nose and adjust the width and the length of the nose. I can have more control over sculpting the face how I want it to look. I can adjust the skeleton that they have, the 3D skeleton that I have. I can adjust them into poses that I want. And they're always adding new things. This is one of the reasons when you were at PAX, I said, go take a picture of Eldritch Foundry, because they're there. Because they have so many options on their website to do custom. Of course, one of the greatest features that they have is so I will just buy the STLs, but not everybody has a 3D printer, obviously. So a lot of people will just be like, oh, you can order it from them. They'll print it for you, and they'll send you up to a 75 millimeter. Like if you want a big scale, like display piece, you can get the 75 millimeter one, or you can get they're like a lot of these, like both them and Hero Forge, they're both great companies. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't have any dislike for Hero Forge. I like Hero Forge for certain things. I like Eldritch Foundry for certain things. There's just, it depends on what I need from what I'm looking for at the time, determines which company I'm going to go with to get the STLs, or even if I'm going to order them, because every now and then I'll treat myself to like a 75 millimeter, mini, because I want something that I don't want to print myself, or like then do all the cleanup for and everything else. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, I love doing this stuff. So I am excited. I was looking forward to today. I was looking forward to actually sitting down and getting a chance to stream. I was looking forward to like just talking about this stuff, because like a lot of this has been out for a while, and I really love the new aesthetic. And I've been really enjoying like every now, like when I get to sit here and chill and hang out with y'all, like this is, to me, like a lot of this is like, it would be like if I had a bonfire and I invited y'all over and we were like going to get to sit. The only thing we're missing is like, some burgers or stuff to throw on a grill by the fire, and a couple of drinks. But you all have your ability to get your own snacks and whatever you want. And then, whatever beverage you want, and just chill and hang out, and, we can chat here. And this is like the thing I love to do. Now, other times, like, yeah, I want to sit there, like and I have to sit down I have to reach out again. I would love to do another night of Darktide with you and Sets, Peppy with you, Sets, Bucket, and, or like Liger again, and just kind of sit down. There's another, Potluck, yo, say the word emotion. Fair enough. You and I are close enough to each other, RPG. Um, we still got to get together. Yeah, yeah, we will. We'll talk about that one day after, like maybe today or tomorrow, later tonight or tomorrow. But here's like the other thing. Like I also like to get like friggin' down in games. Like I want to play some things. There's another thing. Like there was another couple of like really good Warhammer games that are available out there. There's like you got not just Darktide, which has become much better now, closer to like Vermintide too, where in terms of quality. Then, which I'm surprised they've looked at Vermintide 2 and they were like, okay, this is still a great game. This game is still doing well. People still love this game. Rather than just stopping support for it, we're going to add more DLC for it, and they did, and that's a great thing. So like, there's that. Then there's like Warhammer though wise. There's also Inquisitor Martyr. So if you like Diablo and you like action RPGs, Inquisitor Martyr is where you want to look, especially with the summer sale coming up, because Inquisitor Martyr is the action RPG, and it is the best one. Again, when it came out, it had to find its footing, but now that they've hit their stride and they've added in, like you've got Sisters of Battle in there, it's so much fun to play. And of course, it really gives you that whole, immerses you in that Warhammer universe with all the dark lore and the gothic horror and everything else. And then there's, of course, for those that like turn-based strategy games, you've got Mechanicus, which is another great one where you're the Adeptus Mechanicus and you're going against the Necrons, and it's really cool. And then you've got for more of like the fun, like arcadey style, you've got Shuta Blood and Teeth, which is the orcs, like it's like orcs side-scrolling like Contra, or it's just a side-scrolling fun arcade style shooter with like similar to Contra or Metal Slug style gameplay. It's a lot of fun. It's very well animated. It's more cartoony animated, which is appropriate for orcs. And get the shooter, kind of thing. And I can't do it. That's the best you're going to get out of me for orcs. I got to work on it more, at least at the moment. But that's a lot of fun. And then, of course, Bolt Gun, which came out, which is a boomer shooter, which pixelated like 3D graphics, but really, really good. And it is supposed to be, I think, the prequel to the Space Marine game. It's like it's got that vibe that it's like a prequel to the original Space Marine game. And of course, we know that Space Marine 2 is coming out in the relatively near future. I'm going to say that it could be it's definitely within the next year. So let's put it that way. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. And like, if you want the Warhammer lore and you want to jump into it, like one of the things I said to Bucket and to Sets is that we should just do we'll just get together one night. We'll all be playing and we'll just do a lore dump. Like I'll do a lore dump because I do know a lot about the lore of 40K. Of course, owning the hobby store, and so does Peppy. Like we can sit there and we can do a lore dump on, and just like sit there and BS about like 40K and talk about that with everybody. Because I know Bucket was really into the lore and wanted to know more about it, and I know that Liger's really into it, and like Sets, and like it's just fun to just get in there and nerd out, and talk about our favorite factions, our favorite armies, things that are great about the universe, things that are like, oh, this is cool, and this is this is why it's a fucked up like universe and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to really kind of just dig into sometimes and have long discussions about. Like I think by now it's obvious I have a passion for video games and gaming in general, because I love it. Like I grew up, my first video game system, because I'm an old fuck, was the Atari VCS, the 2600. And that I got in 1982. I think it was like 5 years old. And that was my birthday gift. And my dad and I used to play that when he used to get home from work. We would go into the den upstairs where it was set up, and we would just play that. And he and I would play Combat, and then we would play like on the weekends or when he was off, we would play like Pac-Man or whatever together, and just have a lot of fun with that. And then when the Nintendo came out, because I was in one of the test markets for the original Nintendo Entertainment, so we got the Nintendo in 1985. And mine came with Duck Hunt and Gyromite. Those are the two games that came with it. And it was like the very first systems that came out because we were in the one of the test markets. I think there were like 2 or 3 test markets in the United States. And we were in one of the test market areas and we got it. And a lot of people, and that was great. And then Nintendo was like with me for years, and that was my favorite system. Like that, when people talk about starting in Final Fantasy, the people are like, what game got you into Final? Well, the first one on the Nintendo, and like the history of it. Like I am what they call a pop culture historian. So like I know a lot about, I'm a classically trained historian, but I'm also a pop culture historian about like the history of like Square Enix, and like that was Sakaguchi's last. That was supposed to be his swan song. Like he made it, and the reason they called it Final Fantasy was like his last game that he was going to make, and he was going to go into another thing, and then it worked out, and it became a huge hit, and it like rocketed Squaresoft at the time into like really successful video games. And that's one of the things like I really enjoyed. And then like the second one, which was actually the fourth one, came out, Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo. Like those were my systems. Growing up, like those were my consoles that I grew up with. The VCS, the NES, and the Super Nintendo were the systems that I had until I was like 18. So those were the systems that I grew up with. And then like after that, like in college, I was in college when the PlayStation 1 came out. And first, of course, it had Final Fantasy 7. I had to have it. So that was my first like, of the newer gen consoles where they were no longer cartridge based, they were now disc based, and then eventually that would come to where we are now. I stopped with consoles really after the Wii because like at that point I had primarily been like for a long time I was primarily a World of Warcraft player. Like that WoW literally from when it came out in vanilla in 2000, like what was it, 2004, all the way up to like just right after the launch of Battle for Azeroth was when I finally stopped playing WoW. I played WoW for like 14 years. I was in there for the long haul, and I just got like I lost interest in WoW. I could say but it lost its appeal for me after a while. By that point, I'd already been getting into Final Fantasy 14. So I kind of just switched over to 14 as the main MMO that I play. And again, it's like what I said with Destiny. Now, that's why I get so like invested in what goes on, and like people are like, oh, when something goes on in the business side, and it's the same thing I did with WotC when they had that whole Magic 30th, and then with the D&D stuff where they were going on with the OGL. And like with Games Workshop, how they treat their staff and how they underpay people and how they don't give their artists credit. I always look at what's going on in the business side of the thing of the industries as well, because I like to know about that news. And a lot of that I like to share with y'all, because sometimes like when you get into things, it's like, oh, hey, what's going, like, hey, Mel, did you hear about this? Yeah, this is what's going on. There's a good chance that like that morning I've already like got up, probably read 2 or 3 articles on it and watched a video on it. Because like news channels like Bellular News, where they do a lot of research and they always kind of have their hands on things, and I'll keep up to date with things that are going on. Because there are some interesting things that go. I like to watch what the business is doing and see how things are going and just kind of understand why decisions are being made. And again, that also leads into like why you see things like why people are like, well, you're really excited about the prospect of Microsoft. People don't understand why I'm excited about Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. But the reason, again, is I said, like, yes, that like in midnight when I did the secret stream, the reason I'm excited about that is because Microsoft likes to use the IPs that a company has. So they won't sit on a StarCraft. They won't sit on a Heroes of the Storm. They'll reinvigorate those games and bring them back and breathe new life into some of these, and they'll be like, yeah, we should redo some stuff with Overwatch 2 and make it a better product, because they'll want people to play that. And having the accessibility on that, yeah, I mean, yes, at this point, Phil Spencer wants to give the finger to Sony too, and let's be honest, from what I said, I'm kind of there for that. But I also like, yes, I'm not immune to the fact that, remember, I'm somebody that's also worked in IT, and I usually give Microsoft the finger anytime I can too. So, but I do happen to align my kind of style, like my thoughts in gaming, to kind of where Phil Spencer is a little bit more in terms of that philosophy. He's not. You don't hear stories about Phil Spencer being like that, you know, misogynist or that angry gnome that apparently Bobby Kotick is. Um, but like, yeah, I would rather, like, I know Spencer. The one thing I know about Phil Spencer is he is a gamer, and because he's a gamer, it means he understands gaming a little bit better than a guy who's like a bean counter. And by that, like somebody that's just sitting there worried about profits for the company. Yes, Spencer's job is to worry about profits for the company, but he also understands the gaming mindset and the audience that he's trying to reach with his games. Now, that doesn't mean that like things like Redfall aren't going to happen, because Redfall was kind of like an embarrassing like first product to be put out from Bethesda, where it was an empty experience. Like even Bucket said, this game isn't fun. I mean, this game is the only reason I'm having fun in this game is because I'm streaming it. I'm making the best out of a bad game. And he said, like, and listen, coming from a guy like Bucket, who's really, that speaks volumes. But he still had fun with it. But like a lot of things like that, that's why a lot of people are still concerned about Starfield, obviously, and then But I think that with Bethesda and with Todd now kind of realizing that he's not the boss, and he does have somebody to answer, and has seen like the universal panning of Redfall, I think that I feel a little bit more confident, let's say, in this release of Starfield than I do with other projects that they've done in the past. Some of the things that we've seen for it look pretty good. I'll say I'm cautiously optimistic. I do still think that it's going to release with at least one of the traditional, and I would be really honestly disappointed if it didn't release with like a traditional Bethesda bug, which means like there's like either that somebody can get into the room where all the items are or something like that. Because if they don't do that, it really won't feel like a Bethesda release. Now, I'm not saying I want it to be like broken, but I still want it to feel like a Bethesda release. So something's got to be a little bit off for me to feel like, be like, yeah, but they're nailing it, but they're still there, and I kind of love that. You know what I mean? It's like not a bad thing. I'm wishing them all the best, but like, man, I want there to be something that they leave in, even if it's an Easter egg. I still want that to be there. I still want to be like, I want to like open up Starfall, and I want to be like, Starfield. I want to open it up and be like, yeah, this is great. I love this. Oh, look at the engine. It looks so pretty. Everything's great. But then like have like oh, like the combat system's like great. It's not the VAT system that they've been using for a while, but I still want to get in there and be like, oh, look, there's what I was waiting for, the Bethesda bug. And it's just one of those bugs that's like been there, so that it's a Bethesda game. Or like to get to a console, right? And one of the things to come up is somebody to stick in there, and it just says, it just works. If they put that in there, it would be a 10 for me, perfect 10 across the board, just for that reason. And I'll be honest with it, that'll make my day. I am excited for it. I do love me a good space adventure. And they have, for the most part, like whether you like, like a lot of people are like 76 was an absolute disaster, and it was. But again, they did stick with it. They didn't just like drop it and run. And a lot of people I know like are now playing 76, and they love it. That is their kind of MMO where they go to and they can go hang out with their friends. They play in the Fallout universe. They love the Fallout universe. Like Continue absolutely loves the Fallout universe. So this is like one of her favorite games. And every time there's new content for it, she'll jump in, she'll play it. And I love just seeing her have fun in that and be excited about that. And to know that they took care of their players and they made things right, and they made it better, they made it a better experience. That speaks volumes about a company. I already knew that Bethesda had a lot of good things internally from some things that I've heard. And like the place itself was like really cool to work at, and there were a lot of really awesome, genuine people there. So like, I'm just glad to see that like they are doing some good things with Microsoft, like that Microsoft is pushing them more into being creative. And I think Microsoft handling the business kind of side of that and just letting them work on the gaming side of that is going to be something that will hopefully bring about like kind of like a renaissance period for Bethesda. That's what I'm excited for. Like I never want like gaming like a game to fail or something unless it's like like legitimate. I always believe that you can do something, go back, revisit things, and like fix things up. Or if you run into something where it's like really bad, like that's kind of why I'm so kind of like heartbroken, bittersweet with like Anthem, for example. Like Anthem was legitimately had a lot of great systems. Like the flight feature was great. It looked really good. It actually played really good. Like it felt good to play. But like the content that they made for it, the plot and all the like, it was like great. It had a great bone structure, but like nothing else. So that's why Anthem, and then like when they were gonna fix it, and I understand, like it would have been a tremendous amount of money to fix it, and then not really make money off of it, and then like try to give it out for free and take all the talent that was on that, and rather put that into other things. I think we will wind up getting better. Like the decision to cancel the revamp of Anthem kind of broke my heart a little bit because I was excited to see what they would do with something, and I wanted to see the game do well. So that's the kind of stuff that makes me sad. But again, with the fact that it was now like EA having Vince Impella handling a lot of this stuff from Respawn, and now he's like the guy in charge of like the game direction for like all of the different like companies over at EA. Like he's bringing them back from like the kind of like disastrous path that Patrick Soderlund led them down. And I'm not saying that Soderlund was, but he was out of touch at a point. Was, you know, gamers don't know what they want, things like this. Like not in the same thing. But Vince Zampella, it's like Apex was a giant hit for them. It put them back on the map in terms of having a juggernaut out there that's also a really good esports kind of based game. And Apex is still, as I said, it's one of my favorite battle royales, and I do love me a good battle royale. Apex is just too fast paced for me and my reflexes that I will love to play it, but I will never do anything like ranked in Apex. I would do ranked in Fortnite in a heartbeat because I love Fortnite. I do. But no build mode made me the happiest person in the world because it loves me a battle royale. I can jump into it with friends. I can jump into it on my own. And like, I think a lot of the things like, yeah, nobody really loves Tim Sweeney over at Epic, because like he says a lot of things and he's definitely a shrewd businessman. But I think a lot of the stuff you hear about Epic is a lot of people just like being like, Fortnite, mad. And I don't think people, and I know why a certain portion of the population is mad at it, because Fortnite saved the world, was an amazing like base building, had a great PvE system you could play with friends. And a lot of people that got into it, like I did on the base level, were expecting that. And then Battle Royale kind of did kill that. So, like, yeah, I get it. I understand why a lot of people were initially angry at it. But, like, afterwards, I think it was just, like, the fact that Fortnite just got a bad rap because people don't like successful things at times. And to be fair, Fortnite is not just a battle royale. Like you can't say that it's just a battle royale. It is almost an icon. It's iconic in its own right because it breaks down multiple barriers in the gaming industry. It does a lot of things right. It does a lot of things that other companies wish they could do. Like nobody puts out a season and does an in-game event like Fortnite does. And they do it consistently, hitting their mark every single time. And they make a spectacle. And there were times where I didn't even play, like when it would before no build, there were times where I wouldn't even play the game, but I'd be like, oh shit, there's an event coming out for Fortnite. They're doing a seasonal launch. I would update the game, just to jump to log in and watch the shit go down because it was so cool, and because I wanted to be there. Like when they had that the thing for Star Wars, I went and I watched the thing, and they did these things. And Fortnite does that so well. But the other thing, like people are like, well, what about the monetization? Fortnite doesn't over monetize the game. Because what I mean by that is if you look at other games like League of Legends or things like that, they're more expensive. But Fortnite, they know their audience. They know a lot of their audience is young and that they're going to want to be able to buy things for affordable prices. So V-Bucks you can buy, but you can also earn through the season enough V-Bucks to pay for the premium pass and get all the goodies. And in some cases, if you played the game for long enough or you don't care about that, you can just earn the V-Bucks to buy skins that you want from the store just by playing the game. There's nothing wrong with that. I love Fortnite for that. And I think a lot of people just don't like success, or they resent the success. They're like, Fortnite's a kid's game and this, and then they're like, oh, Epic's a piece of shit. Yes, the Epic Game Store is nowhere near as robust as Steam. And a lot of people also don't like the clutter on their computer. People don't want to have multiple launchers, and I get that. But like, it is what it is in that sense, and this is the only time I'll really use that phrase. There are some things that I love about what Epic does. Like they will put out a game a free game every couple of weeks. I have built up a library on Epic. I think I've only bought one game on the Epic store. The library of games I have on Epic, because they're free games, is amazing. And it gives me access to other games that I wouldn't have otherwise tried, or something that I thought may have been interesting, but like I wouldn't have tried it without the fact that it's free. And because of that, I think it opens up things in other ways. That's why I like don't mind. I like jumping into Epic because of that. It's a solid game that most people get into. I think you're correct. People don't like success, but they hate on Fortnite. But yeah, you can't argue how successful the game has become. And that's exactly it, RPG. You're absolutely right. And you're right, Looney. It's a mood. But I mean, that's the thing. Like when you sit here, especially now, we're still in the middle of like games. We're still like, yes, we're nearing the end of like, but we still got announcements from other companies coming out. I know when I'm at GCX, Bungie's going to do their big announcement because that's where they're going to premiere their next things for Destiny and Marathon and more things about the other IP that they're working on. But like, yeah, it's great that we're going to get to see a lot of this stuff. And I think that one of the things that always used to excite me back in the day, and I'm talking about like in the early 2000s, when E3 was still relatively new, right, was getting all the news about the new games that were coming out and being excited for stuff. Now, I think a lot of stuff today, we kind of, we're a little bit spoiled by choice. You know, there's so many games that come in every week. There's games that come out that are indies, and we really like them. Like, let's talk about a game that is awesome that probably doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. Sunhaven. I can tell you, I know so many people that play Sunhaven off stream, or they just play it and they have fun with it, or they've been playing it for like I know Jambo got in and kickstarted it, I think, and she's been playing it for years. Like while it was in like alpha and whatever, but she absolutely loves the game. I know Peppy loves the game. I know Amira and loves the game, and there's so many people that love Sunhaven, and it's one of those games that's like one of those, just like Stardew Valley. Like Stardew Valley's an indie game. It's not like a AAA game, but it is a foundation. It's one of those games that if you think about Stardew Valley, really did kick off this whole farming sim thing, and now you've got like a variety of games out there that fall into the Stardew. Welcome back, Artwomble. You see the new update Sunhaven is getting? Yeah, I saw a little bit about it. I need to look into that more, but feel free to enlighten us, because I'd love to hear about it. But like, I know they were adding in more quests, and I don't know if another area, but I could be wrong on that. But again, another one that's fantastic is that vampire game that came out, the one where you it was like an isometric. Here's where I'm forgetting the name, but it's also one that just got another huge update that added a lot of things. And then another one you got is the Valheim. Every now and then, Valheim will put out a big content patch. Everybody will jump into Valheim because it's a fun game, but you run out of things to do after a while, and people want to play other things. But then they'll add a new content patch, and they'll be like, "We're adding a new area," and then everybody will jump back into Valheim because Valheim is one of those games that, again, it's another found. When I say a foundational game, I mean it's a game that kind of set up other games, or that kind of falls into line with other games because Valheim it's similar in feel to like the Forest. And I know a lot of people played Sons of the Forest, not because it was necessarily the greatest game ever made, but because you could have a lot of fun with it with your friends. And I think that's the thing. Like Outlast Trials, another game that I think came out that turned out to be a lot more fun. And like, then they added in other things in Outlast Trials. Like, who thought fashion would be a thing in the Outlast franchise, period? Like, they obviously not the first two games. That wasn't really a thing. Staying intact was kind of your whole, modus operandi in those. But now in Outlast Trials, like, you can decorate your room. You can get new outfits for your characters. This is one of the things that's important in a game like that because they'll add in things in the future and you can go and you can come back and you can play it with your friends. And so Outlast Trials will be like another game that is going to be around for a long time. Like Phasmo or like with Demonologist. Like, yeah, there's cool things that you can do. And again, like I said, anytime you can go in and you tell me there's fashion in a game, that's great. I'm waiting for Demonologist to add in fishing. For no other reason than just because if you add in fashion and fishing, your game automatically wins. That's like two of the main pillars to having a successful game. Not a game entirely about fishing, but you give me fishing in a game that already has fashion, that's a game of the year right there. And fucking look at Nintendo, right? With Tears of the Koroks. You know what I mean. And I know you know what I mean. Because everybody was playing that game for, like, it was out for 2.5 weeks, and there were some people that didn't even finish the first temple. Why? Because they were finding new and creative ways to build Gundams in Legend of Zelda. Fishing is the only thing I look for in a game, right, Womble? But that's exactly what it is. Warframe added fishing. Lots of people still play Warframe. I'm not saying fishing is the reason, but there's Fashion Frame and there's fishing. There are people that are definitely logging in just to do those two things every day. Same thing now, Destiny has fishing, and I guarantee you there are people that are just logging in. They're so bored of the seasonal model that all they're doing is fishing. And apparently now, if what Fallout Plays said was true, he's got the exotic quest for the season is linked to fishing. That's fucking hilarious. I would love it though. Like he said this morning, I agree with him. The video came out this morning that if you had fishing and that was the way you had to fish up the exotic on a certain time period to get the new exotic weapon, that would be the be all end all for me. You could do fashion in Destiny. You can mix and match things, and yeah, that's cool, and I like that. And these are the things that I think like games. So why are these farming games so successful? Most of them you can dress up your character, you can customize your character along the way, whether you're pixelated or not pixelated or whatever. And of course, fishing. So like, and it doesn't hurt to have the farming thing. Hey, 14 added in the entire island for you to go and farm, and there's already fishing in the game. They have deep sea fishing, which people love doing. And yeah, you can go and you can farm and you can gather and you can raise animals. And you can have, there's all sorts of cool things you can do on that. And that in itself is a mini game in itself. That's why these games are not just like when people talk about MMOs, it's like, are they pure MMOs anymore? Like when I think of MMOs, I think of old school, like classic WoW and like the original MMOs where it was just, it's like a virtual D&D session. But now there's so much more than that. You got housing, you got clubs, you got fashion, all of this shit that's in. You can go to Gold Saucer and just play the pony, so to speak, by creating chocobos and just doing the chocobo races every day, and some people just log in and do that. These are the things about games that make games iconic. That's why Fortnite. Also, is around. You can do other things. There's the creative mode in Fortnite where you can build your own maps. I don't know if that's still there. I haven't really checked on things. I really just did update Fortnite like the other night with the intention of going in and playing it and checking out more stuff in it because I was just in the mood to go and jump into Fortnite, play a couple of matches in Battle Royale. But there's so much cool stuff to do in the games right now that I find it really hard to not like be like, I really want to jump in and do this, or I want to jump in and do that. And there are things that just about these things that just make me super happy. And I think that's why I still like people are like, oh, one of the funniest things I heard, this is a couple of months ago where somebody was like, people should stop playing video games after a while. I'm like, listen, dude, I've been around since video games. I am never going to stop. This is just a part of who I am as a person. Like, I don't think I could ever not be excited about cool things to do in video games. Maybe I won't do everything in all the video games, but I certainly like having the options there to try stuff out. Hell, I mean, I'm one of I'm one of those few that are huffing the hopium for Star Citizen because I got I got into it back in like 2015 or 16 or something. And I mean, I'm not saying that I spent like an obscene amount of money in the game, but I have a ship and I can fly. But I still love the fact that I can log into it at least and play around in the universe that they've built. And it's pretty cool. There's pretty impressive things. And I do have a hammerhead. That's a lot of fun to get a bunch of friends together in a giant gunship that's designed to just kick ass, named a hammerhead, and have some fun with it. So yeah, I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, I do love me some space exploration. Like, I remember when No Man's Sky came out, and it was like the meme that you all saw with the really bad version of the Jurassic Park playing in the background and the really, really goofy looking like creatures and nothing else around. Now, if you look at No Man's Sky, it is like the model of what like a lot of other space exploration games should be. And they keep adding stuff in and like they just fucking nailed that game. It's like still one of the best. It is actually one of the best games out there for space exploration. And you just go in and you just have fun and people love it. I love watching people play it. And again, it's one of those games that's like, oh, I play it for a while or maybe I'll stream it for a while and then I'll like do what I'll accomplish what I want to get accomplished, and then I can like and be like, all right, and I won't touch it for a couple of months, and all of a sudden like they'll put out a patch for it. I'll go back and I'll play it and it'll be like a brand new game. And it's just so much fun to go back and play through. And I think that's one of the things ultimately that always inspires me about gaming and seeing a lot of the stuff that comes out and trying new things. And like you all, like I know some of you know this, you know, I was excited. Now, there was one thing I was a little bit disappointed in. I was looking forward to Grey Hill Incident. And it came out and I picked it up and I immediately refunded it because it was like not at all what I was hoping for. I was hoping for more of an experience like They Are Here. But then last week, They Are Here made me happy. The devs behind They Are Here put out a prologue chapter to the demo that they made, which is even scarier than the fucking original demo, which was scarier. And oh my God. Again, I will say this. Download the demo for They Are Here because now you get basically it adds up to almost like 35 to 40 minutes of gameplay if you play through both of the episodes on there, and it's for free. And if you really like to be scared, because I will say this, do not play this at night and do not play this alone. So if you're going to play it, stream it because it'll be worth it for the content, because it's going to also wear the brown pants because you might poop yourself. Just saying. But it's worth it because it is legitimately a fantastic game. Played through, and it's scary. It is legitimately scary because they do it right. Oh, well, believe me, you might blow through the shorts. I'm just saying. But man, I will tell you, like I played it on stream last week. I will play it again, for y'all, and it will still scare me because I don't care what you say. A game that's done well, where they do the horror well, and it's the fact that it is. I will say exactly what one of my friends said when I said, "Oh, play this," and they were like, Oh, it was Mira. I said to Mira, I was like, "Oh, have you tried this?" And she's like, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Alien Hub." She's like, "Nope, not doing the alien thing. That's too real." And a lot of people feel that way. Like people can handle the ghosts, and they can handle some jump scares like body horror in games. But when it comes to alien abductions, man, that shit actually legit fucks people up. And I was like, and I play through it, and it is literally, because the reason I say this is because the developers of this game know a lot about the subject matter. Like, they know a lot about, like, they've clearly done their research. They know about, like, all of the history of the abductions and how things happen, and like parts of like the implants, and when they talked about like, and I will only say this, like, they actually had the whole thing of like playing into the military portion of this, where the prelude that they answered, the prologue that they into and put in this game now is just, man, they hit a lot more of the right notes. Like, I thought they hit a lot of the stuff. They did well with the actual like UFO topic. It's called They Are Here, Alien Abduction Horror. I'll actually type it out in chat. It's out there. And and they get it so right, and they handle the horror the way they should by building up. So this is like something that Ruby said in a tweet like 2 weeks ago, and I responded to her about it. So a lot of games will go for the cheap jump scare, and because jump scares are easy to kind of do, and they almost always work. I prefer my horror to be tension based. And yes, a jump scare can be woven into there, but when I really want to get into a horror, I want to feel uncomfortable. I want to have that feeling of real fear, even though I know it's a game, and logically I know it's a game. What's going on in the game, I want that feeling of uneasy. I want to feel like uncertain. I want to feel the fear that builds up, and the tension that builds up. The way I describe it best is, if you've ever seen the movie The Ring, okay, The Ring does a good job of creating this tense, uncertain atmosphere. Rather than a movie like the remake, and I will specify the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they rely on showing you the visual body horror of what's going on and doing scares like that, or kind of like where it's more gore than scare, where The Ring had certainly, there were a few jump scare moments in there, but there were also, like, it created this whole atmosphere where it was oppressive, it was uncomfortable, it made you tense. And that's the kind of horror that I prefer, because that's when you know you're pulling the right strings. And that's when you know you also can create something that is a rewatchable experience. You're able to go in there and re-experience it. And in the game They're Here, it created that feeling of tension in me, especially with a lot of the things they added in there. And that makes it good. Jump scares are like candy snacks. It's fine to have some, but too much ruins the meal. But a good horror game is like a full course meal, where it has some elements of the stuff that makes a good horror game and balances the experience. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that when you get down to it, and you have a lot of this thing, They Are Here. I that's why when I saw there was an update for it, I was like, wow, they updated their demo, and they're like, yeah, we put in a whole new prologue. So I was like, ooh, and it was really good. And I was like, no, I wasn't surprised, because I knew what they could, but I knew when I saw that and the kind of content they added into the prologue, and what the subject matter was for that prologue, I was like, oh, these guys really know their shit. Like, to the point where I feel like MUFON is kind of like involved. The Mutual UFO Network is like somebody there who's working for this has clearly talked to people at MUFON and has clearly done their goddamn research, because they actually got it right. And that makes me happy. when we get to games and when people say to me, oh, what about Call of Duty? I'm not going to be shy about it. I haven't liked a lot of the Call of Duty games. I feel like they're mostly just recycled content that's pushed out year after year. And that's largely the reason why Activision Blizzard is the way it is. Like they're just relying on 2 or 3 IPs rather than the like probably close to 50 that they have that they could be utilizing to increase their capital, increase their profits, but they don't. So the original Call of Duty is a very different animal than the Call of Duties we have today. The original Call of Duty put out by Infinity Ward, yes, under Activision at the time, this was before the merger, was a game that set out to be historically accurate. There was no multiplayer. It was all a World War II, like a deep, deep World War II, where everything was based. So the Foley work that they did for that game, they actually got the real firearms and they recorded them so that they would get the authentic sounds of those guns, of those weapons. And their attention to detail at the time was unheard of. And the way they put the original Call of Duty together and all of the missions were based on actual, like majority of the missions were based on, for instance, the Breakhor Manor mission was based on Breakhor Manor, which was actually a real engagement in the on D-Day in the Second World War that was engaged in by the 101st Airborne. And if you go back and you watch Band of Brothers, you will see like why it looks like it was entirely pulled out of the same thing, and they came out around the same time, which is why I said it. When you have the Russians crossing the Volga River to go back into Stalingrad, and you have this cinematic scene of the Stukas dive bombing the ships as they're going across, and you hear the Russian commissars saying, "One man carries gun, one man carries ammo," and that's what they did. And the whole thing where they call in the airstrike where they call in the artillery strike from across the river, and then you look behind. You have to remember this hadn't been done before, and it was so revolutionary. It's so breathtaking at the time to see this. I mean, by today's standards, if you go back and look at it, it's like, oh, okay. Because obviously we have more cinematic elements in games and more spectacle, but at a time this was pushing the technology so far forward. That's why when I talk about games and I get excited when a game company takes the time to put the right touches on it, I still use the original Call of Duty as an example of that, because they did put a lot of historical accuracy and a lot of work into the game, which is why there are times I look at Call of Duty, what it's become, and I'm just like, it bothers me a little bit because I know where it came from, right? The actual groundbreaking piece of art that was the original Call of Duty has become something that is now like a mass-produced like money machine, and that to me always rubs me a little bit wrong about the COD saga. And that's one of the things like I did like about certain. That's not saying I hate COD. I don't. But it's seeing where it was and where it is. Obviously, yes, of course, we're talking about 23 years in the future. It does make a big difference. Did you know that if you have an American, yeah, that's me. But that's why I look at certain games like this and I get like they either impress me or they don't. Like, and that's why a lot of times. But when I saw this game, and I actually looked at there here. And I discovered it because my friend Slay 3K played it on his channel. And I was like, oh, they got a lot of stuff right. I want to play that. I played it. And I saw Walker's playthrough of it, and it scared the shit out of him. And he was like, yep, I'm wishlisting this. Because that's how I knew it was like, I saw a lot of people play that. And everybody I saw do it after I played it, I watched a bunch of React videos on that to see people playing it. And it scared the piss out of everybody. And I was just like, oh, this is good. On a horror basis, it's good alone. But then when I was looking at the actual content and like the things like when you're going through the farmer's notes and you're reading about the different things and you're looking at some of the historical pictures that are actually from like things that are known images from the UFO community. And then you go and you look at some of the, and then you see the entire, you play through the entirety of the prologue. You're like, oh, okay, they did a lot of research for this, and they set it up right, and they did, and that's what makes me so excited for this game. That's why I'm like never gonna get like that's why I'm always gonna like I'm looking forward to that game. And there are a few games that do that to me, like a few games that really hit me well. I'm one of the games I'm gonna replay and play through because they did I don't know if it's a remaster or remake of it, is Layers of Fear. I played through the original Layers of Fear a couple of years ago, probably about 5 years ago. I really loved it. It made me... I loved the fact that it was more psychological, and it definitely messed with you, rather than being like, oh no, there's a big monster chasing me. And that's one of the things, like, I like the... There were a few games that I play, and that's what makes me really like certain horror games. So that's why I like when people are like, I played through like some of the first Outlast game, but like there were things where I was like, meh, I just feel like I'm in like a different. I felt like I was in like a version of Saw or Hostel, where it's like mainly body horror and gore, that kind of that with like a crazy, some sort of crazy like thing after you. Whereas like when I play through like a game like and I compare a lot of horror games to the original Fatal Frame, because the original Fatal Frame and like Fatal Frame in general, the series, you never had a gun. You had a camera. The camera obscura, which your job was to capture the spirits on film, and that's the only way you could survive. And when you think about that, have you ever tried to take a picture when something's trying to strangle you? That's fucking hard. And it fucking scared the absolute shit out of me. And I will tell you this, Fatal Frame is the only, one of the early survival, because again, this is in the age where there was only Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Fatal Frame. All of them at the time were pretty good. This is before they kind of went a little bit, jumped the shark with some of the later. This is in the era of Resident Evil 4, which thankfully we got that amazing remake, right? They had the Fatal Frame, and it was like the first Fatal Frame, and Crimson Butterfly, which were both amazing. And then you had at the time, because this would have been around the PlayStation, like Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, which were also absolutely fantastic horror games. They also really kind of got into the psychology of horror too, like the psychological aspect of it too, which I liked how they wove that in there. But Fatal Frame just literally scared the absolute fucking shit out of me. and the worst part about it was I played it here in this room, the studio. This was when it was still my like den, and I was sitting there playing it, and I was just like, okay, it's 3:00 in the morning. Guess I'm sleeping in the basement tonight, and I ain't moving. Because if I go upstairs, something will jump out and get me. So yeah, like that's why I that's how I kind of evaluate games. If it can make me feel like that, which They Are Here made me feel like I did when I was playing Fatal Frame, and that's how I know it was like. That's how for me I knew this is worth watching. This is worth waiting for. And I always get excited when it comes down to games, and especially when like a demo's been out for a while and you're concerned, and all of a sudden you get like another. They throw out another like here's a snack. You'll be back, and they throw out that other little tantalizing just morsel of game, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to have it. And that's what I mean. That's what I was looking for, and I'm glad that happened, because it really made me happy. It really. Yeah, I really just love that. So like that's why I say like it's definitely worth to check out if you haven't played it. As far as it goes with the Gray Hill incident, I'm gonna say like this for now. I did a refund on it, and I'm going to see what the developers do, because I know they've got a lot of feedback on it. And I always give like a company another chance to like, maybe they'll go back and they'll fix some things up in the game and make it feel a little bit better. And if they do, I'll give it another chance. So I like to watch and see what they do. Again, that happened with Wilson and a couple of games that were out there. Again, I'll say this, it also happened with Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr. And now Inquisitor Martyr is like literally one of the best space, like science fiction settings action RPGs on the market to play, period. And, like if you like Diablo and if you're like, and again, I'm going to say this to all of you that are like either thinking about getting into Diablo 4 or maybe you've picked up Diablo 4 and you don't really like, this is your first action RPG. I'm going to tell you, there is a seasonal model. You will get to a point where either if you're playing softcore, where you've been like, I've got my build, it's working, but I really don't know what more because I got everything I want for it. That's kind of the point where in any season of Diablo or Path of Exile, where I get to the point for me where I've accomplished like my build and it's functioning the way I want it to, where I'll kind of like put the game down, because the game is designed for you to take breaks. It's not designed for you to kind of keep going back to day to day to day. That's not how action RPGs work. Once you get your build together, you can decide, do I want to push on to this? Do I want to go for this? And we want to see what the seasonal goals will be and what maybe the seasonal journey will be and what you can unlock doing that. And maybe your intention as well. I'll just go in, I'll play through the battle pass, and I'll get the cosmetic for the free thing or the paid thing or whatever. And once I have that, then I'm done for the season. And that's fine. However long it takes you to do that, that's great. That's why action RPGs are designed to work in a seasonal model, because they want you, the only way to keep engaging is to like add in some new weapons, new things. That's why they do that in any live service games. And they give you a season where now I have like, let's say 12 to 13 weeks to play through and then see, cool, there's this need. And most of them will do 12 weeks. And I'll tell you why. They give you a week off between seasons so that you can figure out what build you want to use for the next season. And that's what I'm looking forward to with that. That's why a new season just dropped, I believe within the last week for Inquisitor Martyr for Warhammer 40K. I'm going to check it out. We'll probably stream it. I'm not in a rush because it's not one of those things that I'm rushing to get to the top of the leaderboard or anything. I will most likely roll a Sister of Battle because anytime I get to play at the Sisters of Battle, it's a good day. They're awesome. They got good lore, and the weapons and the kind of combat style is one that I really like. You have assassins. You can play as different characters. There's like a rogue. There's more of a tanky character. There's more of like a magic user character, which the magic user is more like of an Adeptus Mechanicus kind of dude, and working with the machine spirit. And then you've got like your kind of like straight on kind of like warrior with the Sister of Battle, which you can either do like with. Yeah, you got a lot of shit you could do with that, and it's just really fun to play. And I want to see some of the new things they added into it, and to play through it again. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, this is why as a gamer, one of the things when I get excited about stuff, this is where I get really like pumped about sharing things like I love, and maybe it gives you guys something to look at and be like, yeah, that's really cool. I want to check that out. And that's like my best hope for doing things, and that's one of the things I look forward to doing the most. But for tonight, I think we've been on for almost 2.5 hours. I want to thank you all for coming to hang out with me. I'd like to ask you all to hang out a little bit longer. We're gonna go raid somebody, and I know where we're gonna go raid. I'm actually gonna raid over to Eros tonight because Eros is fantastic, and Eros is playing an indie horror game because it's indie horror movie night, and also Eros has been a fantastic friend of Ruby's too, and I like to pay it forward. We all know that, and even though like whatever, I always like to drop people off at some place where I've been hanging out. And I'll probably hang out in a bunch of streams tonight. So, like, I know Bucket's on. I'm already in Bucket's stream, and I'm watching Eros. And I have Yuzu pulled up on another stream, but, like, I'm not sure what's going on there yet. But, yeah, I want to go say hi to Eros. So, I want to thank you all. Oh, and let me just show you. So, if you haven't seen the new starting screen, I'm going to just show you. We have a transition. And this is the new starting screen. Now there's going to be a couple of things I'm going to add in there. So there will be a few minor changes. Oh, thank you so much, RPG. My pleasure. I'm happy to do it. And then, obviously we still have the bar. The bar is still there. We do like our traditional, like, new show or whatever. And then we have this is called the library. And then we still have the workshop where we want to do like tabletop streams. There's nothing there right now. And we still have the gaming stream set up for when we want to do some gaming. You can see the chat bot. And we still have, I'm going to change the BRB screen a bit because I need to change it up so there's a uniform theme. But our stream ending is still going to be the same kind of stream ending screen, because that's kind of just neutral. And it still kind of fits the theme. So we are going to go right over to Eros. And again, I want to thank you all for hanging out. And I hope you all have a wonderful night and a wonderful day tomorrow if I don't see you. I will be back on Friday. We'll be streaming for charity. We'll be doing a build YouTube RPG. Have a wonderful night. And we'll be streaming for the Trevor Project with the Fabulous Marines. Already have a couple of ideas of what I want to paint. So we'll be doing that. So, yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Let's go say hi to our friend Eros.